My dog loves his sleep, he really does, and so should you. But the fact is, you probably don't get enough sleep, especially if you're a student. So I'm going to talk about a very relatable scenario, especially if you're in sixth form, college or university. So it's your third coffee, 12 AM in the night, and you have to cram. You just have to cram for this test that you have tomorrow. But here's the bitter truth, you are much better off just going to sleep. And yes, much better off just going to sleep despite your current preparations and knowledge about whatever topic it is you're being tested on. It really is just more useful to put everything aside and just sleep. This is not in just the best interest of your health, but also your exam performance. So in the 21st century, we're faced with a very grave problem. In today's world, individual lifestyles have become a lot more intense and fast-paced, and so the importance of sleep has become incredibly undervalued. People sadly fail to recognize just how valuable sleep is. People tend to see sleep as a distraction. People tend to regard sleep as a waste of time, as lost opportunity. But well, sleep should ideally consist of 1/3 of your lifetime on average. And well, if you're not getting 1/3 of your lifetime as being sleep, then well, you're doing something wrong, and quite frankly, that's not good for you. Because it turns out that sleep is actually a critical process for the human body. It is a time during which your body regulates its vital systems. This includes respiration and regulating vital components and bodily systems like circulation, growth, and immune response. Many biological processes happen during sleep, and some of the most important ones include the fact that the brain stores new information and gets rid of useless toxic waste from the brain while you're asleep. Nerve cells communicate and reorganize, which supports healthy brain function. The body repairs cells, restores energy, and releases molecules like hormones and proteins. These hormones and proteins are responsible for regulating growth and many different body systems and many different biological systems in the body as well. Now this is all great, but this is something we can worry about after the test, right? You know, it's just one night, it doesn't matter if we cram just this one time for that good grade or whatever. Oh, not exactly, because it turns out that sleep is actually crucial for memory retention. And a test, when you're being tested in an exam or whatever, memory retention is crucial. So let's quickly talk about neuroanatomy and the role of the hippocampus in creating memories. This is something we briefly discussed in my previous video, which you can see here or here somewhere if you're interested. So we're going to talk about a study, and this study, we discovered the role of the hippocampus and its use in long-term memory. And this was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Miller, with a patient famously known as HM. So HM, the patient, Brenda Miller, the doctors and the researchers, what they discovered was actually very interesting. In short, when this patient HM had the hippocampus removed during the surgery, his ability to form short-term memories was damaged. However, he was able to learn new tasks through repetition. However, due to the removal of the hippocampus, his ability to form long-term memories was damaged too. And what this revealed, apart from other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory. So when we see or learn something, this is known as sensory data, and sensory data is initially transcribed and temporarily recorded in the neurons as short-term memory. From there, it travels to the hippocampus, which strengthens and enhances the neurons in the cortical area. And through the strengthening of these neural networks, more information will be returned as long-term memory. And it turns out that one of the main things associated with memory consolidation is sleep. So our sleep consists of 4 phases, 2 of which are very deep and important for memory consolidation. So an EEG machine or an electroencephalograph is a device that records the electrical activity of the brain. When these machines monitor people in their sleep, during these stages we can see electrical impulses moving between the cortex, hippocampus and the thalamus. So the different stages of sleep have shown to help in consolidating memories in different ways. During the slow wave sleep, through continuous dialogue between the cortex and the hippocampus, there's a drive of its gradual redistribution to long-term storage in the cortex. So effectively, when you learn something late at night, at a time when you're actively decreasing your sleep hours by staying up, you actually remember less. And this is a bad thing because essentially the more you sleep, the more you remember. The more those neural connections strengthen and the more you will remember. So all of that revision you're doing late at night, trying your hardest to understand a concept, and even if you do manage to, you're so likely to forget it when you wake up in the morning. Think about this, when you revise earlier in the morning or earlier in the afternoon, you're far more likely to revise that information opposed to when you do it, for example, at 10 PM. The earlier you study, the much better. And further, chugging loads and loads of caffeine to stay awake, well, yes, it will help you stay awake, but it is to your detriment. Because ultimately, when you try to get a few hours of sleep, you will not be able to. Turns out that caffeine has a long-lasting effect on the body, and it should not be taken at night when it's a time to be asleep, basically. You'll feel frustrated, you'll feel upset that you can't go to sleep, and you'll just be miserable, to be very honest. And honestly, if you do remember something or try to remember something at night, chances are you will not remember it in the morning, especially if you're not getting enough sleep. The ideal sleep you should be getting is anywhere from 8 to 9 hours. 7 isn't bad, below that is, well, statistically and disproportionately, a lot of studies show this, that students who get more sleep than students who don't, even when the amount of learning they have done is the same, are much more likely to perform better in tests. But yes, I personally refuse to ever study late at night because I understand just how ineffective it is. You're not going to remember anything, learn anything, your brain's not going to do a very good job at retaining that information. But as a student myself, I really appreciate the fact that a lot of students struggle with time management. Myself included, actually. And because of the pressure that comes from expectations and an intense self-desire for success and to be great, combined with a short time to cram study, which in the end tends to be very counterproductive and self-sabotaging. Don't cram. Space out your study over a long duration of time, we discussed this in our previous video, and revise at a time when you're most likely to learn that information, in the morning or in the early afternoon. The night is for sleeping and having fun, or both. Because when you wake up every morning with a fresh and improved brain, ready to face the challenges ahead and have a good day, you are much more likely to succeed. So take care of yourself, get a good amount of sleep every day, and commit to time management. All the best.